Welcome back to the Self Centered Leo Shit podcast. I'm your host, Wish Bang, and this episode is all about Elmwood Summer Love. So let's go to the very beginning, right? I started writing a book way back when I was about 15 years old. And the premise of this story was about four sisters, and I didn't have a space and time yet. It was just four sisters existing and just different trials and tribulations that they went through differently. But over time, as the story started taking on a life of its own, I started to develop character profiles. And when I developed the character profiles, I gave them names, birthdays, um, hobbies, interests, career paths, best friends, boyfriends. I gave each character a life of its own. And then as I began to write more of the story started to develop. Like one story took me to from here to there, and then it started to make sense. Like, holy shit, like this is almost like this character is writing his own story almost based on the profile and the personality type. It was just kind of easy to flow from there. And so I ended up writing a really long book. It was about 1,000, maybe 1,500 pages. And I said, holy shit, all my years of reading novels and loving to read novels, I don't think I've ever sat down and read a novel that was over 500 pages. And so I got nervous because initially the story was designed to where I started with them as adults. And then throughout that story, I flash back to them as teenagers to kind of give you a backstory. And then I said, you know what? The backstory is so much of its own story that I need to make the backstory a series so that people understand where these characters are coming from in the other story. And so I started writing the teenage years. And then from the teenage years, I started developing different experiences that says, well, you know what? This sister had a summer experience. This should probably be its own series or its own story because so many things can happen in a book in a day. And so that's where I came up with the love series. So all my books will be under an Elmwood novel. That'll be like just the entire book club. Every book will reference Elmwood in some way or fashion because that's where the characters, that's their universe. Like Marvel, Elmwood is their universe. And the series that's dropping now is the Love series. And it's about the second to youngest sister, Arabella, who kind of plays as the main character of the entire universe. So you'll see her now, you'll see her narrating her own story, or you'll see where there's times where she's narrating her sister's story. And so, yeah, so it's four sisters. Sage is the eldest. Nicola is after Sage, Arabella, and then Dana is the youngest. And so they all have nicknames. So it's Sage, her nickname is Shia. Nicola, her nickname is Nikki. Arabella, her nickname is Bella. And Dana's nickname is Dia. And so all of these sisters, they have this mom. Her name is Carmen. And Carmen was a hot girl back in her day. So Carmen has her own book coming out because she has her own life that she lived that kind of indirectly affected her children's lives because it's just something like, there's pieces of you that you can't erase no matter what you do. And then you kind of want to know the source. And when the source has been bruised or damaged in some way, and they don't want to share with you the history or share with you their past, it kind of leaves a longing. And so that's what we have in these four young ladies. It's four daughters who have a mother who they know has a past that's extravagant, but she won't share it. And because she won't share it, you see pieces of her exhibited in each of her children. And that is the part of her girls that she's constantly trying to not beat out of them, but she's trying to change that about them. So every little thing that she sees in her children that remind her of her past is she leans heavy into it and it pressures them. So they start feeling like it's something that they're doing wrong, but they know it's tied to her in some way. And so these girls are conflicted. They're constantly in turmoil about certain things and trying to figure out like what's her deal, but what's my deal too? Like, like what I have a saying in the book where when a sister realizes that they're doing something that's reflective of their mom, they reference it as the Carmen in me. Or if she sees her sister doing something reflective of the mom, she'll say, oh, that's the Carmen in her. And so that's kind of like their inside joke they have among themselves where it's just like they know something's up, but they can't quite put their finger on it yet. So they kind of spend small bits and pieces of their time trying to dig up who she really is or what happened to her to make her the way that she is. So in this story, we go down. This is well, essentially because the characters are adults now. This is their past. But we go down the memory lane into a summer experience that Arabella had. So this is her senior year. She's graduating early. Her friends don't know. And she's nervous because she has all these plans and all these dreams and aspirations, and she's very ambitious. And so she's determined to be successful at everything that she does. And so she's a very driven young woman. And so in this book, she is navigating her dreams and her plans. She's a up and come. She wants to be a rapper when she grow. Well, she wants to be a producer or something in the entertainment business, a producer, a writer, something along an executive, something along that line. And she raps. She's a battle rapper in the Bronx. And so she's always thinking that somebody's trying to challenge her or somebody. And some of the time somebody is trying to challenge her because in this story, these girls are beautiful. Their mom is this drop dead gorgeous woman who once used to be like the it girl in town. And then something happened and now she's kind of ran to church to hide. She's not who she used to be, but she has a reputation that still lives on throughout their hood. And so they kind of lean into or ride that legacy of, like, do you know who Carmen is? Like, do you know who my mama is? And so they kind of have they're kind of the it girls of their community, but they're very humble girls. So it's like you see the compassion, you see the empathy, you see the development of each girl as they experience life and they learn how to do the things that they're doing. And it's just it's interesting. And as somebody who wrote the book, it's so funny to me how when I'm reading it, I'm always feeling like, oh my God, like, I'm reading certain clips saying like, what the hell was I thinking when I wrote this? Or how did I even come up with this like that? Because it's just like sometimes you just get in the zone and you lock in and the story kind of developed itself. And as a movie lover and you know i I don't know if I wrote these books with like on a movie scale of some kind, but my vision for it was always picturing it. Like as I'm writing, I'm picturing these things happening in my mind. And so I don't know if that helped me write better or if that will help make it a movie easier. I don't know, but that's just one of my tactics is I try to imagine it and then I sit down and I write it. And so I'm going to play a excerpt from the book so you can just hear a clip of a scene from the story. In this clip, she's gotten some bad news from her mom. And so to make herself feel better, she goes to the mall with her friend. And when she goes to the mall, she bumps into the boy she likes, but it's not the circumstance she thought. And so her feelings are a little bit hurt and she ends up leaving. So here is how that scene unfolded.
Moments after, he turned the corner, and there he was, sincere. And right beside him, some girl I'd never seen before, clinging to his arm like she had every right to be there. My breath caught, His eyes found mine, and he smiled. That same easy, confident grin he gave me the night he sat outside my building for hours, just waiting, just talking, like I mattered. Jonette's elbow nudged into me, but neither of us looked away. I stood there quiet, steady on the outside, but everything inside me twisted. I wanted to act like it didn't touch me, like I had no reason to feel the way I did. He wasn't mine. I kept telling myself that, but the truth is, I thought we shared something real. I thought I saw something in him worth choosing. I even considered walking away from Dominic for him. And now here he was, walking toward me like nothing happened, with some other girl acting like she belonged to him. Or worse, like I never did. I hated the way it made me feel, jealous, exposed, like a hypocrite, because I had secrets too. So I clenched my fists, trying to hold myself together. But the heat in my chest said otherwise. And before I could stop myself, the words were already slipping out.
You could see where she's conflicted, confused, because prior to that, she had made some considerations and choices that she probably should have thought about a little bit longer. But yeah, so in this love series, her and the character Sincere have an they have this magnetic chemistry, but they're both similar. So it causes a lot of friction. And you'll see how that's crazy enough how their connection makes them stronger despite when you would think that they would pull away from each other for the things that go on in this book, but it just brings them closer. I don't know what it is. I don't know the dynamic that I thought of when I made these two strong-willed characters who are very opinionated. He has his boundaries, she has her boundaries. They're both they both expect the most out of each other. It's almost like, I don't know. It's hard, but personally, I like to write my male characters as leaders. I like to write my male characters as strong men. Now, we do have a couple bitch ass niggas in the story. I'm not going to hold you. We do have some of those. But ultimately, because how we tell stories are important too on the message that we send from community, to the public. And so I just wanted it to be known that although these are young people and they go through this experiences that young people have, these are grounded people, like she respects him, he respects her, and they may fuss, they may carry on, but they respect each other. And so even in their tone when they disagree, you can hear the mutual respect, you can hear the love and understanding. You can see where if there is a misunderstanding, how it's handled with care and how they nurture each other through even the difficult times, how they're there for each other in ways that a lot of people can't be. And that was one of the ways I wanted to show the strength of each character, show how powerful they were separately, but show how much of a force they were when they're together. And so basically just the gist of their dynamic is, it's like they have this chemistry. They've been friends for a very long time. Like there's a moment in, I can't remember what part of the book it's in, but there's a moment where he's in an altercation, and although they've never had a relationship together, when he gets in this altercation, it's her voice that stops him from doing something wrong. And so I'll just play a clip of that scene where she was able to calm him down from the top of the bleacher. She was maybe 5-6 feet away from him, and she was able to calm him down by simply calling his name and him looking at her and realizing that he was going to make a bad decision. So listen to how this scene unfolds, and then we'll discuss. During the last season, Dominic and Sincere exchanged tense glances, their once friendly demeanor now overshadowed by an unspoken rivalry that filled the air. When their issues spilled over into the game, causing friction, I knew it ran deeper than just what had been happening during practice. They were big deals around here, capable of causing a scene on any court. Basketball used to be the only place they seemed to get along, but even there, you could sense the tension crackling between them. The squeak of sneakers on polished wood still echoed in my mind from the last incident. The game came to an abrupt stop as two security guards flanked Sincere, gripping him as they tried to drag him off the court. My sister Nicola sneered in disgust while Sincere's family, dressed in all black, shoved against the barricade. Security scrambled to hold them back. "That boy has a problem," Nicola hissed, her eyes narrowing as she watched the commotion below. My heart raced, palms sweaty against the cold metal bleachers. On the court, Sincere's flirty smirks played across his face, his eyes dancing with mischief as he winked at me. Whispers rippled through the stands, adding fuel to the already blazing fire. Suddenly, Dom's fist sliced through the air, narrowly missing Sincere by inches. The crowd moved with them, following the ruckus, and I sprang to my feet, Sincere's name escaping my lips, raw and unexpected. He turned to me, and our eyes locked. I watched the fire in his gaze flicker and fade. His clenched fist slowly uncurled, shoulders relaxing as if invisible strings had been cut. As Sincere backed away, his eyes still fixed on mine, I felt a warm hand wrap around my wrist. Nicola tugged me back into my seat, a smirk on her face that said shit was about to get real. "Oh, so you're the thug whisperer," she chuckled. And so it was in these small waking moments where she's piecing little things together, saying to herself, like, wait a minute, like, me and him have had these encounters, and she feels this way, and he's not shy about telling her how he feels, but she's always thinking he's not serious. And so something changes in her over time as she realizes, like, wait a minute, maybe I do like him, or maybe he does like me, but they're so complicated. It almost looks like a toxic relationship, but it's not toxic. I promise you, it's not toxic, but it gives toxic because of how complicated each person is and how strong-willed the characters are. They're both very strong individuals. So it's almost like one is not backing down for the other, but ultimately they are literally both willing to compromise for each other. But you just got to read it and understand and see what I'm talking about. But it's very good, very emotional. There's many moments where I'm reading it as the author and I'm crying. Like, what's wrong with you, girl? You wrote the damn book. And there's moments where I'm upset, like the character does something. I'm just like, what the fuck? But I wanted it to be something that you can read and reflect on. Think about it, your first summer where you had like just an experience that you probably never will have again, or just that feeling about someone that you can't understand until you speak to them, or you have a judgment about someone and you may have misjudged someone without speaking to them, and you learn that holy shit, they're nothing like what I thought they were. So this book is, I call it my labor of love, because I was writing this book, just popped out of nowhere. Honestly, it was bred from the bigger book, but just the entire idea and the concept of it popped out of nowhere, and I wrote it while I was completing my last 2 years of college. And so it was just, I'm working full time, I'm writing this book, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. It's just I was just busy, and I just kept dedicating. I mean, I had like this app on my phone. I have I walk with my laptop. I was finding everywhere to work on this project because that's how much I love it. And it's a part of a 3-book series. So this is book 1. This is the Summer Love. And then the Fall in Love book It's supposed to be dropping in November. We're going to have to check that timeline. It might be December, or it might be sometime next year, depending on how I feel. Because I just don't like to put them out. I like to make sure that the story is giving what it's supposed to give. And then after Fall in Love, we have the third book. Book three is, isn't book three the Christmas? Winter Love. Oh my God, I said Christmas. Book three is Winter Love, and it is kind of humorous. So Fall in Love is kind of where the relationship fully develops itself, um, amongst the characters. And then Winter Love, it's not a comedy, but there are many funny moments in the book because it's just, you know, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. And so I want you to rock with your girl. I have a very vivid imagination. And I think I write for everyone. I don't just write for women. I don't write for men. I feel like I write for everyone because I grew up in a house full of boys. And so it's just so many different personalities. I feel like a man could read this book and still enjoy it the way a woman would read it and enjoy it. I wrote it that way. I didn't write it one-sided. So it's not like super girly or super masculine. It's just a book that it's almost like you're peeping into a window and you're watching somebody's experience unfold. So this is just like the rough beginning part of the story. I'll try to make more episodes like this where I kind of dive into more of the character development and just, different parts of the book because it's my baby. It's my first baby, my first official published novel because I wrote a novelette that I published, but this is my first official published novel. And I think everyone should read it so we can have a discussion. This is my virtual book tour because your girl ain't famous enough yet for a real book tour. So this is my author's cut, the virtual book tour, part 1. So stay tuned because part 2 is going to be coming soon. As of right now, the book is only available on Amazon. Search Elmwood Summer Love. And there is a hard paperback copy and then the Kindle copy. So log on to Amazon, get your copy so we can discuss, because I'm going to do in my virtual book club, my virtual book tour, I'll be hosting virtual parties. So come to my comments, read my book, come to my comments and tell me about it. Tell me if you like it. Tell me if you didn't like it. Tell me what you want to understand. Tell me what confused you. Tell me what needs to be, if like I had when I first did like the first edition of it, there were questions that were asked, and people asked me, can I clarify this? Like they want to know more about this particular thing. And so I went back in and I kind of fleshed out some parts of it. And so I added like 13 pages to the book to kind of flesh out a story so that people could understand what I meant or what was meant by that section. So yeah, so talk to me and let me know what you think. Comment I like critique. I'm not a person who does not like criticism. I thrive on criticism because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make something better if you don't tell me where I went wrong. So please feel no way to say what you have to say because I want this to be, this series is supposed to be a movie one day, obviously, but it's 4 sisters. 4 sisters have 4 stories, and the stories can be endless as long as the juice is there. So as long as the juice is worth the squeeze. So each sister is probably going to have at least one box set of 3 books that describe an event in their life that was important to them in some way. So you can kind of understand each character on a level. You can choose your favorite, choose who you resonate with, choose who reminds you of yourself the most. I'm just trying to build just a solid profile for people to kind of look at and decide what they like the best. So yeah, so until next time, this is part 1. I will be back. Have a good one. Thank you very much. Bye. Get the book on Amazon, Elmwood Summer Love.